What's on, minifans? Quite a quick project this time. I wanted to do something with big cans, and I bought some beers a little while ago, and they came in like a 4-pack with this clip-on carry handle. I was thinking, those bits are awesome. Nice way to disguise the top of a can. So this is what this project is. If you like anything in the video, feel free to hit that like button, ring that notification bell, and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with my content. Also, any feedback is much appreciated, so feel free to leave a comment. And then down below in the description box, I have some affiliate links. So I have a couple of hobby stores, one for EU, it's UK based, but it does do all of EU, and then one US. And then I also have some Amazon affiliate links for my most used items. I also have a Patreon where I host all the templates I use in any of my videos. And of course, feel free to subscribe to my Patreon if you want to support me further. Anyway, enough of this, let's get on to crafting. We begin by prepping the can itself, and what I do is, using some wire cutters, I clip away the top part where the ring pull is, trying not to leave any sharp edges, and then I just pack the can with cardboard coated in PVA glue so it gets nice and strong, and I try and put it all around the edges so, you know, the can won't flex. This project is almost a 2-in-1. So this part that I'm making now I wanted a way to mount my kids pipes, and the newer, I've had 2 sets of kids pipes. I'm on to the second set now, and they're a bit smaller than the previous set, but I found that like the non-joining bit, or the smaller part of these smaller kid pipes, fits perfectly into the older set, like the smaller part of those. So then I figured I could do a little bit of an overlap. So I just, well, you can see what I do. I saw off a couple of sections of the old pipe, put them together, glue them together. So then this is going to be the base of this new little connector. And then I build up a little base to this, kind of like my Zone Mortalis ductways I did a few projects back. So it's just this little 3x3 square of chipboard with a second layer on top, with the corners cut off, and then bits of cable tie and rivets. And just for those who've not seen any of my videos before, the rivets are fingernail jewelry beads. I think they're 1.5mm ones. So I just whack those on something, get a cocktail stick with a bit of blue tack on the end, pick up one of the little rivets, dip it in super glue, and then pop it into place. And repeat it as many times as necessary. In this case, quite a few times. As a final touch to that little connector I've just made, I packed the center a little bit. I put in a bit of something and then a bit of card on top, so it just raises up the level, so I don't need to use so much of the other pipe, because I actually do make a mold of this in silicon, so I can cast it, and I do cast one, but I don't film any of that. But then what I'm onto now is a way to disguise the bottom of the can. And this black thing I'm using here is the lid off a wax container, you know, a hair wax container. So this just gets super glued onto the bottom. Seems it's the perfect size. Alrighty, onto the can holders. So I clip one off because it's from a 4-pack, and then I sand down the bits I've just clipped so it's nice and smooth. Now there are 3 little gaps on this one. I can't find any more of these. I will try and link something similar in the description, but we'll see. I can't find any exactly like this. But so there's 3 little gaps on this, and I found one of my gauges of cable tie fits in perfectly. So I cut some strips, bend them, and then super glue those into these little gaps. Right, now I want to coat the can with some cardstock. So I get the circumference by wrapping a bit of card around, a strip of card around, and then marking where it is. So then I cut a whole big piece of card, but then decided, hang on, it would be cool with a cutout. So the end of each top and bottom, I'd leave a 5mm strip, and then I cut out a big rectangle. And I cut a bit of corrugated card to go, or corrugated paper to go in this space. Then I glue this to the can with super glue. Okay, I've also added some 5mm strips of card onto that card I've just added. 1 around the top and bottom, and then 2 outlining the corrugated paper piece. And then I go ahead and glue the can holder on top of the can. Also, the excess piece of card where the corrugated paper has gone, that cutout, I've saved that bit of card because I plan on painting that as hazard stripes and whacking it on the side later. Okie dokie. I've added a load more rivets here. I've done them all around that card trim I've added onto the can itself. There are some on the can holder as well. And then I do a few on the cutout piece of card I took, or I've saved for the hazard stripes. But then I go ahead and glue that little pipe connector thing I've made onto the very top. Unfortunately, I screwed up with the filming here. So what I've done is cut a 2cm tall block of XPS, and I've done like a curve on it so it fits onto the bottom, that wax lid. And then I've put a 5mm trim around the top of this part. Obviously riveted that because I can't help myself. And then, as I said earlier, the little pipe connector thing I've made, I have made a mold. So I've cast it once in UV resin. So that gets glued on this bit of XPS foam. Now, the XPS foam I've actually sealed with Mod Podge so I can use super glue on it. So that's what I do. I go ahead and glue this on. I use a little bit of filler here to fill the gaps between that bit of XPS foam and the black lid at the bottom. Onto the painting. Off camera, I've sealed everything with Mod Podge, also, to give it a bit of strength and durability. And then I've primed black and then base coated burnt umber. And I start off by doing a heavy dry brush of silver. Now, I haven't actually really showed this, or mentioned it. I've done this whole bit of kids' pipes, glued them together, so this is going to go from the top to the bottom. Now, I haven't attached these yet because, it's easier to paint. And then the painting is pretty much sponges on sticks. So I do the sort of main body of the can blue, and then the pipe sections, I do those green. Then after those have dried, I just come in with a bit of sponge and just use, in my hand, and I do a lighter version of those two colours on top, so lighter blue, lighter green. Then we're on to the hazard stripes. So that section of card I've already sealed, primed, base coated black. This gets taped down onto my cutting mat with 5mm strips of masking tape, masking out the old the stripes, and then I go over with black again, so this seals it and makes sure the yellow won't bleed underneath. And then once that's dried, sponge on a flesh colour. Once that's dried, sponge on yellow, and then peel off that masking tape, and beautiful. Works like a treat. Off camera, I've glued those hazard stripes to the side, and I just use super glue for that. And then I give the whole thing a once over with a dirty homemade wash, and I dab some of that wash off, like the blue and the coloured sections, with a bit of kitchen towel. At this point, I decided I wanted a sign on the blue part of the can. So I go ahead and I print out this sign, this warning, danger, biohazard sign. I print this out on cardstock, cut it out, and then I go around the edges just using like the side of a brush, because they show as white at the moment. So I go around with black, and then I seal this with Mod Podge, and then I put on some of that dirty wash again and dab some off. And then after that's dried, this gets stuck on the side, just again with super glue. We're onto a bit of weathering now. So I'm using, again, a sponge on a stick, cut at an angle. I start off with burnt umber, and this gets sponged on well. There will be rust, and then also just as dirt and grime on some of the other bits. And then after this is dried, the rusty bits, I sponge on orange on top. Then I do some sort of drip stains on various bits, and I just use a bit of black, bit of burnt umber paint, occasionally mixing them together, putting in a bit of water so they get a bit runny. Yeah, so I just do these in various places. And then the final stage is to glue that pipe on, which is exactly what I do here with super glue. And that's the end of the project. Here's the beginning video again, just so you can have a look at the finished thing. I'm really pleased with this. It was a quick project. I've always wanted to do something with cans, but it's quite hard to disguise the top and bottom of them. But I think these little can holders are brilliant thing to disguise. So yeah, dead pleased with this. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.